Hi again. And in the series on books about knife training, um, the book that I'm talking about today isn't really a book about knife training. And I actually debated with myself whether to include it in this or to include it in the firearms playlist, because the book Bringing a Gun to a Knife Fight by Steve Tarani is principally aimed at the shooter who's faced with an edged weapon attack. Now, Steve Tarani is a very, very noted instructor in close quarter combat in the United States. He's got an extensive background, including working for the protective operations section of the CIA. He's highly trained in firearms, but uh, has been widely known for his expertise with edge weapons. He was the first instructor in edge weapons at Gunsight, and as far as I remember, it was while the Colonel Cooper was still running it, and he's had a relationship with Gunsight ever since. And he's written several books and done lots of tapes and things like that. But the his expertise in the knife came from training out in the Philippines, for example. Now, the reason why I did decide to include the present book in this section was because much of the information on how the knife fighter operates is invaluable, and it's pretty well unique, and it's not found in many of the books I've previously reviewed. Particularly the mentality of the knife fighter, the ploys and distractions he'll use, strategies, and as well as the specific techniques. So, although the book's written from the point of view of the shooter defending and breaking that myth that there's what Masai Yu calls the hierarchy of deadliness, where we think, well, firearms are more deadly than knives, so therefore they'll win in a particular fight. Whereas with the range factor, that becomes a moot point. And particularly when distractions and deception is employed as well. One of the points that Steve Tarani makes is the difference between operating in an edge weapon environment and in the more normal environment found in most of the United States. And he said a typical confrontation in the United States might be a lot of pushing and shoving and grappling and so on, and before someone breaks it up. But he said in certain parts of the Philippines, the scenario would be start off with some eye contact, glaring at each other, followed by an 8-inch ragged edge blade shoved deep into your opponent's rectum all the way to the hilt and turned clockwise to ensure a deep enough debilitating cut, what they call a distraction, and then clipping the femoral arteries on the way out. That's a knife fight. So by knowledge like that, information like that, he gives you a profound awareness of the threat of the edge weapon, the threat of the knife. So you can then use it for either understanding how to defend against it, ideally with a firearm, or you can take that knowledge and add it to your expertise with a blade in training to be a knife fighter, because so the assumption is we are the good guys we're talking about, and if you're facing violent aggression, sometimes by multiple assailants, your ability to deploy a knife in a sudden, violent, and effective manner is possibly a life-saving skill. So I really do recommend the book. I've read it thoroughly, and there's not just the actual meat and potatoes of what the title suggests, knife in a gunfight or gun in a knife fight. But there's an awful lot of stuff on tactics, mindset, goes into the OODA loop, things like that. And he's a very, very serious student of this area, and he has a lot of expertise which he's very, very willing to share. And I think that we can only learn from such expertise. So for that reason, I recommend this book. I recommend it anyway, but I do think it does fit in to the list of the books we're reviewing for knife training.